How insulin reduces glucose. Introduction. Welcome to this comprehensive presentation on how insulin reduces glucose and its profound effects on the human body. Glucose is the primary fuel for our cells, and insulin is the hormone that ensures this fuel is delivered efficiently and safely. Today, we'll explore the journey of glucose, from dietary intake to cellular absorption, and the critical role insulin plays in maintaining metabolic balance. We'll examine the mechanisms of insulin action, its impact on glucose utilization and storage, and the clinical implications of insulin-related disorders. Let's begin by understanding the foundation of glucose regulation. Section 1. Overview of glucose regulation. Role of glucose in human metabolism. Glucose is the body's primary energy source. Every cell relies on it to perform essential functions, from growth and repair to communication and defense. The brain, in particular, is highly dependent on glucose. It consumes nearly 20% of the body's energy supply, using glucose to power cognitive processes and maintain neural health. Muscle cells also rely on glucose, especially during physical activity. Whether walking, lifting, or running, glucose fuels the contractions and endurance of muscle fibers. Sources and absorption of glucose. Glucose originates mainly from dietary carbohydrates, found in grains, fruits, vegetables, and sugars. During digestion, enzymes break these carbohydrates into simple sugars, including glucose. This glucose is absorbed through the walls of the small intestine and enters the bloodstream. Once circulating, insulin becomes essential. It regulates how much glucose is absorbed by cells and how much remains in the blood, ensuring a delicate balance is maintained. Importance of maintaining blood glucose levels. Stable blood glucose levels are vital for health. When glucose drops too low, a condition known as hypoglycemia, symptoms like dizziness, confusion, and even seizures can occur. On the other hand, chronic high blood glucose, or hyperglycemia, can damage organs over time. It contributes to complications such as nerve damage, kidney disease, and vision problems. Insulin is the key regulator that prevents these extremes, maintaining glucose within a healthy range. Section 2. Insulin production and function. How insulin is produced in the pancreas. Insulin is produced by beta cells located in the islets of Langerhans within the pancreas. These specialized cells constantly monitor blood glucose levels. When glucose rises, typically after a meal, beta cells respond by secreting insulin. This rapid response is essential for preventing spikes in blood sugar and initiating glucose uptake by tissues. Structure and chemical properties of insulin. Insulin is a peptide hormone composed of two chains, A and B, linked by disulfide bonds. This structure is critical for its biological activity. The shape and bonding of insulin allow it to bind precisely to insulin receptors on target cells, initiating the metabolic processes that regulate glucose. Insulin release in response to high blood glucose. After a meal, blood glucose levels rise. Beta cells detect this increase and release insulin into the bloodstream. Insulin then travels to various tissues, signaling them to absorb glucose. Muscle and fat cells respond by increasing their glucose uptake, which lowers blood sugar and restores balance. Cellular mechanisms of insulin action. Insulin binding to cell receptors. Insulin binds to specific receptors on the surface of muscle and fat cells. These receptors are proteins embedded in the cell membrane. When insulin docks, it activates a signal cascade inside the cell. This cascade involves multiple proteins and enzymes that prepare the cell to absorb glucose. Activation of glucose transporters. One of the key outcomes of insulin signaling is the activation of GLUT4 transporters. These proteins reside inside the cell until needed. Upon insulin stimulation, GLUT4 translocates to the cell membrane. This movement is essential. It creates a pathway for glucose to enter the cell from the bloodstream. Facilitation of glucose uptake into cells. Once at the membrane, GLUT4 transporters allow glucose to pass into the cell. In muscle cells, this glucose is used immediately for energy, powering movement and cellular functions. In fat cells, glucose is stored for future use, helping regulate blood sugar and maintain energy reserves. Section 4. Insulin's effects on glucose utilization and storage. Conversion of glucose to glycogen in the liver. Insulin plays a major role in liver metabolism. When blood glucose is high, insulin signals liver cells to convert glucose into glycogen, a storage form of sugar. This process, known as glycogenesis, allows the liver to store energy for later use. When blood glucose drops, glycogen can be broken down to relucose back into the bloodstream. Suppression of glucose production. Insulin also inhibits gluconeogenesis, the liver's production of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources. By suppressing this process, insulin prevents excessive glucose from entering the bloodstream, helping maintain metabolic balance and preventing hyperglycemia. Impact on fat and protein metabolism. Insulin influences more than just glucose. It promotes fat storage by stimulating lipogenesis and inhibiting lipolysis, the breakdown of fat. This ensures energy is stored efficiently. Insulin also supports protein synthesis and reduces protein degradation, helping maintain muscle mass and tissue integrity. Section 5. Clinical implications and disorders. Insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. In some individuals, cells become resistant to insulin. This means they don't respond effectively, impairing glucose uptake. As a result, blood glucose remains elevated, a hallmark of type 2 diabetes. Managing this condition requires lifestyle changes, such as diet and exercise, and often medical interventions to improve insulin sensitivity. Type 1 diabetes and insulin therapy. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disorder. The body's immune system attacks and destroys pancreatic beta cells, leading to insulin deficiency. Without insulin, blood glucose cannot be regulated. Patients with type 1 diabetes require lifelong insulin therapy, delivered through injections or insulin pumps, to maintain health and prevent complications. Future advancements in insulin delivery. Innovations in insulin delivery are transforming diabetes care. Smart insulin is being developed to respond automatically to blood glucose levels, reducing the need for constant monitoring. Inhalable insulin offers a needle-free alternative, improving comfort and compliance. Closed-loop systems combine insulin pumps with continuous glucose monitors, creating automated feedback loops for precise glucose control. Conclusion. Insulin is a master regulator of glucose and a cornerstone of metabolic health. From its production in the pancreas to its cellular actions and systemic effects, insulin ensures that glucose is used efficiently and stored appropriately. Understanding these mechanisms is essential, not only for appreciating human biology, but also for managing diseases like diabetes. As science advances, so too does our ability to harness insulin's power for better health and longer lives. Thank you for your attention.